Inappropriate songs played at emotional moments.
999,999.
Completing a task.
1 million. Listening to a record for the first time. Turning it over in your hands. Placing it on the deck. Putting the needle down. Hearing the hiss and crackle of the sharp metal point on the wax before the music begins. And then sitting and listening while reading through the sleeve notes.
End of
Okay, well, awesome.
Do we get notes too?
I'll send you an email. Okay, so it's 8:27. So
Okay.
we have a little bit of time to like talk through that last chunk, which I think would be good.
That would be good. Yeah, that would be good. Sorry.
Oh, the total time.
85 minutes.
85 minutes. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can do that. But that, no,
Okay.
that's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
That is good. That is good.
2.5 weeks out. That's great.
Cool. So we can talk about that last chunk that Peter just riffed, by the way. Amazingly. And I guess my invitation would be, if you know, we're gonna work now. So you're welcome to stay. You're welcome to go. Yes, totally. Would you like to?
Well, yes, I can very quickly, as you know by now, because you are the first audience that has seen the whole thing.
Yes, you are. Congratulations.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
It's impossible, virtually impossible, to rehearse without you in the room. So thank you. That's the first thing.
Yes, thank you.
The second is, one of the advantages of doing that and of doing it multiple times is that different SAMs are different and give us different things, and different veterinarians are different. And so every time we do it with a different person, we as actors are fed something different, and it means that the palette grows and the list of possibilities opens up. And that's very helpful, so that when we're actually in the theater, and we are less likely to be hit by something we've never seen before. It's not our first rodeo. But also just so that we're open to whatever comes, which we sort of need to be. The third thing is, and the thing I want to ask you about is, because it's such an interactive show, we are curious about the audience experience. And what worked, what were there moments when you wanted to exit? Were there things, what I mean is, were there things that were just, that was really uncomfortable, and I wish you had a different way of doing it? Or were there ways of engaging that really worked for you, so that we can say, okay, that's a good thing to have in our menu of possibilities. So just whatever strikes about what you just saw.
I would say, going back to the early part, you've already said you appreciate people's, and maybe this isn't the script, you've already said you appreciate everything. It felt like you didn't need to be thanking people so much every time that you,
That's interesting.
That is
because
really
that felt
interesting.
like it, so it got to be a little bit jarring.
It's
Okay,
so funny because
fascinating.
he includes the thank you in the script
Yeah,
for
that's
the
what I-
first 3, and then
And
he
then they
stops.
go away again.
And we were like, I wonder how that reads. The
I
not
think it's
thank
much
you.
better without the thank you.
Oh, wow.
And just maybe one
That's That's
time.
so
if you
interesting.
need to.
Maybe thank the vet though, because that's what really.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, I feel like in that instance, it
Yeah.
fits in this, like, what's
Yeah.
happening.
That's
Yeah.
true,
But
right.
the, like,
That's so
the dad,
interesting.
it was like, there were a couple of things, and I was like, wait, like, that's so interesting.
Okay, now this is more really interesting.
No.
No, but I agree, I think that's,
That's so
I don't,
interesting.
I mean, I don't know how it felt to you,
Yeah.
that's just as an audience member,
That's
it's,
so interesting.
That's great.
That is,
Thank you.
yeah, that is
Thank
great.
you.
Because we've
Sorry.
been adding it back. Because we felt like, so that's just interesting.
but you've already like invited people and
Yeah.
thanked them for
Mhm.
participating, and then I feel like then, okay, so now we're in the play.
Yeah,
And,
totally. That is awesome.
and I apologize, I've definitely read all of Kittredge, but I could
That's great.
went up on that, sorry. It's cool to get to, I mean, I think it's super cool to just have the numbers and to be able to be actively participating. I don't know what it's gonna be like with a bigger audience, what do you, I'm just trying to imagine though, with a much bigger audience.
The biggest we've had is a little over 24.
Mhm.
And it worked, but that doesn't mean it always will. But partly because there was, almost all the chairs were full. And so looking across the room wouldn't see any empty seat, you would just see other human beings who were all in it. And we may have had enough sheets of paper for everybody.
No.
No, we only did
We
the first
only did
7
the first
numbers.
7. Yeah.
But we had 27 people in the room.
If you like picture the Bank of New Hampshire stage right now, you are seated in front of the actual stage,
Mm-hmm,
and then these are the red like installed seats,
okay,
and then these are 2 sets of
Added.
posters that we're putting in. Yeah, but this is the actual size of the space that we're playing in, so keeping it as intimate as possible. And yeah, hopefully everyone has their own list item. It's not Kate with 50. No, delivered very well.
Thank you so much. Over the mic use, just got my batteries.
Badgers, that was my favorite, maybe my favorite.
That was mine.
That's really cool, really different.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought like there were a couple of times where like the movement really added to, like, I don't know how much that was sort of blocked or planned, but like when you were like, mom would get like this, like really hot, really high highs or whatever, I was like, whoa, yeah, like you're right, that's what's going on. And like, I think you, like in the first part, when you were sort of like, I can't remember how old, like where in the timeline it was, but there was one part where you were just sort of like really circling, and it added to like this sort of frenetic, like,
Mhm.
and I thought that was really effective at like changing the energy of.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is the basic assumption that individuals in the audience fully embrace their moment and that they're kind of waiting, ready to go? What happens when someone is just kind of so taken back by perhaps the emotion of it,
Mhm.
despite all the warnings about, be concerned about your triggers and this and this and this, that nothing comes forward. So then, how does the rhythm, how does the flow, how does that magic of the audience participating go forward?
We've talked a lot about this.
Without ever reaching a conclusion.
Yeah.
One of the things we have talked about several times in different iterations, because we have had rehearsals where there's been that delay or that gap. In the last rehearsal, I did not know what numbers had been given out and what numbers hadn't, so there was a big pause, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna say it, because we didn't have Kate. and then the person who had the number started. So one of the things we've talked about is particularly when we get to, because there's a jump right? At the beginning, the numbers are pretty consistent, right? And they mostly go in order, and they are all 4 digits or less. And they build, right? 2 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits. And then all of a sudden they jump to 6 digits after a while. And we've talked about things to do to slow down the delivery of the number as a cue to like, we're reading numbers again. And that, I mean, it's a 6-digit number. And so it just what to do with that. We've also talked a lot about if someone reads their number, but they read it very quietly,
Right.
finding a way to repeat it back. Because there is a lot of opportunity for, and one of my favorites is the odd-numbered Star Trek films, right? Where you're like, because sometimes you just can't help but react to the thing because of the memory, and there's opportunity, I think, to repeat when, so that it gets heard. But this is definitely one of the
Well, I mean,
plans,
it's
you
a
know?
double-edged sword.
yes.
I mean,
Exactly.
either it is going to galvanize an experience
Yeah.
that people will write to their grandchildren, or it will just
Yeah.
hurt you, jerk you.
Yeah.
But also, like, and this is something that we do actually have some control over, like, in the rhythm of the text, there are these moments where, like, the super fast rhythm and the rattling off, those happen in sequence. So 992, 993, 994, that's one of those moments where you're, like, whipping through them. And then also 1000, 1001, 1000, like, or there are these chunks that all happen in sequence, and that's when the rhythm is, like, really the most essential, but it's happening in sequence so that I think people have a chance to be ready if they know, their number's coming. So that's a little helpful.
So I'm wondering, as you've done this a bunch of times with different audience participants, has anyone ever said no?
Yeah.
They have. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. They have.
I just thought it would be a good experience for you to have,
Oh, yeah.
like not
Yeah.
like you did when it's being performed.
It definitely is helpful. Because we also have had the experience of being like, oh wow, people have been very engaged. But also we've invited people with a purpose who
Right.
know what they're kind of getting into.
Yeah.
But yes, we have had that experience.
I mean, would you want to plant people to like maybe say no or be more difficult so you'd have some practice at that?
Karen's asking if
No,
she
I
can be
thought
difficult.
about that. I thought about that. I have thought about that. I've had conversations with Kyrie about that, who's our intimacy
Yeah.
coordinator. And they are like kind of considering ways for they themselves to like explore different options with the two of them in the coming weeks when they come visit. But yeah, I don't know. I also don't want to impede on people's natural impulses,
Right.
since that's what we need for the thing to happen. Sam, did you have a thought?
Yeah. I had a lot of trouble figuring out what to say when the therapist comes back, which I think in a lot of ways is appropriate to if that was a real phone call that I got out of nowhere, like what do you say to that? So my question was, the line that really got me was like, do you remember what I was like? And I was hoping you were gonna have something else to probe with, and then I was like, oh god, I have to brainstorm. So I was wondering if the follow-up question of was I ever happy, was that in the script?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So eventually, if I had nothing, you still have one
Yes.
more thing to
Yeah.
ask. Okay.
Yes.
Because I think that one is really tough to navigate as an audience member.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that was a really short interaction we had in the first place. And it's also like, I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, and one of my notes about that moment is that I think you have to be looking at the person, because I think she has to be responding to you now. She doesn't have a memory of you at 7. It's a conversation that's happening now.
Yeah.
So I wonder too how
But I
that
think-
would change that.
I think it's important maybe to, oh, go for it.
No, but then does Mr.
Snuffles.
Snuffles have to make an appearance? Or can Mr.
I did
Snuffles-
actually like the back-to-back of the phone call.
Okay.
Because then I was like, oh, I don't actually have to take my sock off, I'll just do the voice.
Right,
The
and the
one
voice
with
was
the
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the voice works in that case.
I saw the action in the shoes. The shoes.
I was
Yeah, I
like,
know. You wanted to do it.
Did I?
That's it.
My foot was doing it?
Yes.
I didn't notice that.
God.
Is she or isn't she?
I had no idea whether you'd taken off your shoe or not.
No, I didn't. But I do think maybe just whoever you ask to be the therapist, just like maybe that should be someone that you guys are confident, like will really be able to engage there. And maybe that is someone that knows you guys a little bit more, like once you get to actual shows. I don't know. I don't want to take away from the opportunity to engage with strangers and with new people. But I think that one is especially challenging.
It is tricky because there's the most like conversational improv in that moment. But were you gonna say something?
Only that we had an experience a couple weeks ago with a young woman who was here who played the therapist, and then we were going back and to do it again, and we said, can you do it again? And she said, could I just pretend? And
Oh, yeah.
And the answer is, yeah, of course.
We're already pretending. It was great. She actually stopped speaking and just
Yeah, just so
Yeah,
nodded or shook her head.
that's right.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant.
It was terrific.
Yeah.
I will say though, when you said like, you don't have to, or you can call me back, whatever, I don't even remember what it was, but I was like,
Yes.
Yeah.
whoa, like that was so like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment. And I think that, I mean, so I guess we should just try it a few ways, like with the back-to-back or with the looking at it. Because I think that also, like, living in the discomfort of that moment is part of what's really important, because this, like, we know that making this phone call and reaching out in this way is really uncomfortable for the character.
Yeah, let's try it. I'm happy to do it the other way
Yeah.
also, so.
We can try it both ways. Because I also think that if you do it the other way and you're looking at the person, and then like that means the sock has to come back out. That's also part of the joke that's written into the. That's
Yes.
you know,
That's true.
the irony being that you're on the phone anyway, and so you can't see the sock. But so yeah, we can
Okay, let's do that.
workshop that.
I like that. I like that.
You're like, I know we're on the phone, but I want to see it.
Are there props? Like, are there LPs? Are there, so that was another question I had.
There are props.
Do you have a dog?
Always a code.
No.
I have a nice big dog if you want to borrow it. I don't want it.
Actually, you did a great job with the code, I have
Yeah.
to say, I
Yes,
was
always
very
the
impressed.
The fur on the hood worked really
The
It
fur on
did.
the, the fur on the, on the,
You-
on the hood
Remember, we
worked
saw it,
so
and we got
well.
very excited.
So good.
Oh.
I did feel a little like Statler and Waldorf over it before. We were like,
The hood. There's just the
only-
LPs play such a large role
Yeah.
throughout the
Yeah.
script that it feels
Yeah.
like.
What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, you might wanna describe the set.
Yeah, so imagine, again, we're in the Bank of New Hampshire stage, and then here where there's ceiling, there's no ceiling, and we have vinyl records hanging, like suspended from
That's cool.
Okay.
mid-air. So that's cool, and
That
then
is cool.
also this moment at the end that we've never done before, and Peter just riffed on. That is hopefully the only time there's a real record put on the thing, and it's fun. But yeah, we've also workshopped a lot because for the like most of the things other than the things that are really specific, like the sorrows of young Werther, he wants them to just come from the audience, but we are like we've had a lot of conversations about audiences in New York and London and audiences here and what is like realistic to expect people to have. Karen was here for this whole conversation about will people have their own books on them. Sam
There
and I
isn't
always
really a
do,
lot of
but-
public transportation in.
Yeah, but it's
I mean, there's a lot of Kindles and people
yeah,
reading on
there's
their phones.
right, exactly, reading on their phone. So we've like filled in a lot of that stuff as sort of like a safety net if they can't organically be produced, but yes. So there are certain things that we have set and others that we're open for surprise. Yeah. Any last thoughts or questions or ideas? We'd love to know.
Something very, very minor,
Yeah.
and it's probably just I misunderstood it. Carrie, when you were 7 years old, what year was that?
Exactly. So the sequence of years for me is different than the sequence of years for Peter. So you didn't mishear. There was a jump, because for me, November 9th, 1983 is when I'm 7.
And then we did go
But
back
for
in time.
Peter,
Yeah.
1969.
69 is
it's
when
his
Peter was
7.
And when
Because I
you're,
was 7.
when you're in the library, you can't contact anyone past
So
midnight.
you're-
That's
that's what I was
okay.
So for
I
me,
noticed that
in
too.
the library, when I can't contact
So-
anybody, it's 1990, the year is 1995,
Yeah.
and for him, it's
79.
When I go see
Yeah.
Mrs. Patterson, it's a very odd thing, but it was the 60s,
yes,
not the 80s.
not the 80s.
And so
Mhm.
Got it.
The timestamps are all
all
different
different.
depending on who is,
The pronouns are all different. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
everything shifts around.
Actually, the 60s makes more sense if she's taking off she rehearsal.
That's true. That's true.
she got results.
She gets results.
She did.
Cool.
I think Landis's comment earlier, I think we need to figure out how, not only how to avoid what he described, but also what to do with it when it actually happens.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have people with pieces of paper and they're all leaning in and they're all like, 35, that's me. That's one thing, but if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 is like, then the sequence actually gets disrupted. And getting back to a place where the whole audience says, no, we're not leaning out, we're leaning in.
Yeah.
In spite of what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta figure that out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, yeah, I think that it has to do with the acknowledgement that the lights are on, and that I can make a mistake, you can make a mistake.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Figuring out what that, like how that is.
It's